Welcome back to Trove One, everybody. Today I'm going to be wiring up this light bar and prepping all my wiring for all the future lights up here on the roof rack. If you hadn't seen one of our recent videos, I built this light bar with these aux beam lights. Huge shout out to aux beam for sponsoring us on this and helping us get these lights. So in the future, I'm gonna have a lot more lights. I'm gonna have side lighting, I'm gonna have reverse lighting, some things like that. So I need more power onto the roof than just these lights. And I'm also going to divide these up so that I can turn on, I've got 10 lights up here. I'm gonna divide them up where I can turn on 4, or I can turn on 6, or I can hit both buttons and turn on all 10 of them. So we're gonna be hooking these up to our aux beam 8-port controller here, and that is mounted up here under the hood, right off the electrical box here. We've got it mounted right down here. We've already got the bumper lights tied into it, but I've kind of pre-planned all this out. So I've got 2 set aside for the big lights up top. I've already got my bumper. These will be side lightings eventually. These are my cubes on the bumper. Then I'll have some backup, some rock, and some, I've got like some underglow lights. So that's kind of my plan. But I need to get power from the engine compartment to the roof rack, and then I need to get all these tied in. So here's some of the materials we're going to be using for this. First off, I have this right here, which is a 7 conductor. This is trailer wire, essentially. This is what you make a trailer wire harness out of. This has 2 10-gauge wires in it, 1 12-gauge, and 4 14-gauge. Not all of these are the same. If you order some of this 7 conductor, check and see. Some of them have all 14-gauge in them. I wanted the 2 10-gauge for running some of my big lights. And anyway, I wanted the different gauges for different things up on the roof rack. So this is going to be one big wire I run up to the roof rack to feed everything that's going to be on the roof rack. Then I have a couple of these boxes right here. I think I'm only going to need 1. I ordered 2, but I think I only need 1. This has terminals already in it. I'll show it to you in a little bit, but it's got 7 terminals in it. So this, I can put connectors on these and just hook it all up on the terminals. Then I've got some more stuff here. These are connectors, that a bunch of different ones here. Some 2-ports, 3-port, 4-port, 6 and 8s. I'm just gonna be using some of these 4-ports. So this is what is on the aux beam lights. So these lights have 4 wires coming off of them. You've got a ground, you've got your main hot, and then you've got an amber and a white accent light. So up here on the edges, there is an amber or a white, and there's 2 little wires for those. Those are just little kind of accent lights. You can use them as turn signals, driving lights, things like that. So I've got 4 wire connectors on there. Now the harness that comes with these lights has this pigtail on it, and this plugs in right at your light. Basically, it plugs into the pigtail that comes off the light, and it splits out your amber and your white on these little wires. I don't like that because I don't want these wires just floating around, and I don't want to have to splice into them. I want to make this as clean as possible. So I ordered some 4 conductor 14-gauge. 14 gauge is the same gauge as this wiring harness. Now the 14 gauge for the accent light is way overkill, but that's what I got. So I'm going to put that into connectors. I'm going to custom make harnesses. There's lots of chaos going on right now. I've lost my train of thought, but that's okay. 4 wires is what I need to hook up to the light. So I'm going to make a harness to go from the 4 wire off of this, and then I'm going to run it back to my junction box and tie everything in there. So I've got to make a lot of longer pigtails and then put connectors on them and wire them all up. So theoretically, it should be pretty clean when I get done. It's still going to be a lot of wires because I've got 10 lights up there. So there's going to be a lot of wires involved. But that's my general plan. So now we're going to get to work on routing that 7 conductor and getting it all installed. All right, I got my main power feed run, so I'll kind of show you what I did here. I've got it here and it's stripped back, so this is going to feed up right down here. It's going to go into my fuse panel box and then come back out into the aux beam right here and then up to all these terminals. So I'm going to feed that up in there. I can't do it while holding the camera. I'm going to feed that up in there so I can land all those on that terminal block. So then the way I routed this, some of you probably won't like this, but it's what I decided to do because this way I didn't have to drill any holes in the roof rack. So that comes down with the main wiring harness along the frame, and then right down here it comes out right here. This is the wire right here. Then it goes into the frame. I use my fish tape to feed a fish tape back into the frame. So then I follow the frame all the way back here to the back, and then I come out of the frame at this hole right here. Then I run and I tuck it up into the corner right here, and I can run my wires right down here, and I can run up here behind these hinges up through this vent area. Mine was already busted up here, kind of broken where the top of it is. I don't know what, they just get brittle and they break. So it was already busted, so I just ran it through here. This is just an empty space. There's a vent in here that flops it out. So it's just tucked into this empty space, and it runs across bottom of my roof rack. I'll tie this up either to the bottom of the crossbars or something. And then my junction box is gonna go right here on the inside of the roof rack. So the downside to this route is it adds a huge bunch of cable, which is gonna result in a little bit of voltage loss over that distance. If it's a problem, I'll change it, but it saved me from drilling a hole in the roof, which I don't really wanna do. If I'm gonna do that, I've gotta find a roof gland that'll fit this big of a cable and will seal up good, which I can do if I need to, but I'm gonna try this first. That way I don't have to drill any holes. If it doesn't work, if I'm seeing voltage issues, then I'll shorten it, I'll run it through. So this saves me from going through the firewall and through the roof, both which are a little bit of a pain to navigate. But my other option would be come through the firewall, come up the A-pillar here, pull the headliner down, punch a hole in the ceiling, drop into the headliner. That's my secondary option. I've also seen a few people do an attachment up the windshield right here so that you don't have to drill any holes and you just come out here and up the windshield. I'd be kind of tempted to do that with this because I could make this look pretty good. The hard part is getting it to attach, and then if you got to replace your windshield, you got to detach it and that kind of thing. Eventually, if I get a snorkel, my snorkel would come out right up here, and I could tuck that wire in right here behind the snorkel. So that's another option. If you have a snorkel, a good place to hide it without drilling holes. I just don't like drilling holes in my roof as much as possible. So we're going to try this. If the wire length becomes an issue, I'll address it then. If not, it'll be good. So I'm going to land these in here in my junction box, and then I'm going to land them into my junction box up here, and then I can start building my pigtails to come straight from the lights into that junction box and land everything in there. Getting a little late, a little dark outside, so I'm gonna come in here in the shop. I've got all my pigtails cut here. These are all gonna be my pieces that go from each individual light over to the junction box up there. So I gotta come in here, strip the ends off these, take these 4 conductors, crimp on these little pins right here, and those will go into these connectors, snap in place, and then I'll just be able to plug these straight into the existing harnesses. And then on the other end, I'll do some little connectors there that'll do a terminal connector on those ends, which I don't have any here, so I'll have to do those probably tomorrow. I'm gonna see if I can't get all these ends made up. I don't have a lot of experience with these particular ends, so I'll have to get the feel for it a little bit, but shouldn't be too bad. See if I can't get these knocked out. now that I've done a few of these, I've done 5 of them, so I'm halfway done. I'm starting to get the hang of it and get a process down. The more wiring you do, the faster you get at it. You begin to develop your process and get faster at it. So I'm gonna give you a few tips that have helped me. One is, my first one I made really, really short. It made it a lot harder to get all the ends in here. I started making them a little bit longer, which it exposes the wires a little more, but I'm gonna get some heat shrink and put heat shrink over this. I'll do a piece over this to cover all this and protect it when I get done. And also I originally, you got to crimp these pins on and then you push them in there. I was trying to push all 4 of them at one time and it does not work very well. If you got a little bit more slack, you can do them one at a time and they'll go in a lot faster and easier that way. So push the pins in one at a time. Also, when you look at, especially since this is a 4 conductor, it would apply to other cables too. Making sure you're using a specific end of your cable, because in this case, I want all my color patterns to be the same, green, yellow, white, brown. So if I go off the same end of the cable, I don't have to twist my wires around. They just come out of the wire and form straight into the connector without any twisting of anything. If you go off the other end, you've got to twist them around. So make them all the same, use the same end, push them in one at a time. That's all the tips I got for you. Other than that, it's pretty simple. You don't strip the copper very far because these little bitty pins are pretty short. So you don't have to strip very much, but we're gonna finish up the rest of these. We got 5 more to go. All right, we got all these made, so we're gonna call it a night. Come back to this tomorrow or the next day when I can talk again. All right, guys, it's another day back working on the wiring. Got all these pigtails made the other day, and I'm gonna start getting shrink wrap. This one's got shrink wrap on it, just to protect these wires on the ends. You can see that one's exposed, and this one's shrink wrap. So I'm gonna get a shrink wrap put on all these, and then start working on getting them put onto the vehicle, get this junction box put up there, see how far I can get tonight before I get too tired, gets too late, and too dark. All right, it's getting dark, so it's getting harder to film, but I've got all these zip tied all the way down, so this whole harness comes over, comes here into the roof rack, and then I've got all these here. So my junction box is gonna sit down on the inside of the roof rack, right down in here. And I'm just gonna have to show some of this to you later, but I'm gonna strip these back, pretty much strip the wires back to where they're just the wires are going to go into the junction box, because this junction box is only so big, and it's this wire that I got is a very large, it's got a lot of sheathing to it, a lot of jacket. So I'm going to strip these back, do some heat shrink, kind of get all these bundled in here where I can get the wires into this box. It's going to take me a while. It's wiring, it's going to be tedious, it's going to be slow, it's getting dark. So I'm going to work on this and then probably see how far I get tonight. If I get it done tonight, tomorrow morning I'll give you the walk around and show you how it looks when it gets done. It's just, wiring is slow and tedious and really boring to film, and all the reality, it's really boring to do too. I know how to do wiring, I just get bored with it. But I'm gonna get this done, and it's gonna work. Hopefully really, really good. We'll find out. All right, I've been working on this for 2 nights now, and I finally have all the wiring done. It's dark. I'll show you the wiring in the morning so you can kind of see what I did. It's a little bit of a mess, but it's working. This is the amber accent lights that I've got on right now. So I've got all those wired up, top and bottom, just a little ring. And I'm going to use those. My plan with the amber accents is to use those for kind of a soft scene lighting when I roll into camp. So I'm getting camp set up. I want some soft lights. I just kick these on. They're low power usage, and they just give me a nice, soft, gentle, not a bright white that's hard on your eyes. You got your night vision a little bit better. I think these are gonna work really, really well for that. Eventually, I'll probably have some on the sides and the back as well. But looking really good. Now I wanna go out and we'll do some testing. I'm gonna get the vehicle pulled over here where I can shine this down in the backyard and stuff and really see what these big lights are gonna do. All right, here is the view out the windshield. This is just my low beams. That's low plus high. So it's got both sets on at one time. Go back to low. Now we're gonna turn on 4 of the lights. There's a little bit of glare on the windshield. So that's 4 of the lights. That's with them off, that's low beams. That's with 4 of them on. There's 6 of the lights. I've got them separated by 4 and 6, and there is all of them. All off, all on. All off, all on. Wowzers. Zoom out a little bit so you can kind of see how wide this is. It lights it up. One really cool thing about this, it's lighting it up really evenly. The way they're fanned out is just super wide and just really even light. Like, this is a ton of light. I could play Frisbee out here or something. It's so bright. Unless I look back that direction, then I'm kind of like looking into the sun. Yeah, don't stand right here. It's a little bright. Good grief. That's all right, I like it. Okay, now I'm gonna show you what I had before. So this is with my high beams, low beams, and my big amber lights. Actually, I'll go ahead and turn on the, well, let me show this to you. This is what we were looking at before. This was kind of like most of our lights on except for our little side shooters. So this is what it would look like with those on. It adds quite a bit of light, but the amber isn't near as bright. Now, if I had that on and then my cubes, then I could light up off to the side, which those ditch lights, some of my favorite lights, because they just come in so handy to run when you're driving down and you're going around a sharp curve and you can't see around the curve because your lights don't go that far, especially on a dirt road. Those are super, super nice. All right, let's flip on the big lights now and kind of compare what we had before with what we have now. All right, that's what we had before, all of our lights on. And that's what we have now with just the new lights on plus the headlights. Oh, that's got the bumper on. Turn those off. 6 of them plus the other 4 plus the bumper plus the cube. We got some light, boys. That is everything on, which is just insane. That has the accent lights on. I don't know if you can see them with the white, blows the camera out so bad, but that has an amber accent around the side, so you can turn that on at the same time as the white lights. This is just all the light. I'm getting a sunburn out here standing in front of it. All right, there it's on with just the amber accent lights and my other amber lights. They look really cool, the accent lights do. I'm gonna kind of see how much light they put out with all the other lights off. If I turn off my bumper lights and my headlights, then they just kind of, probably not gonna pick up the best on camera, no. But it does provide a pretty nice soft glow for just setting up camp and stuff. That's gonna be kind of nice. All right, I gotta go drive it down the road and see what it's like. All right, so I am super happy with that. Absolutely a ton of light. I am really glad that I spent the time to do the curve. I think that it fans out so wide. It's just absolutely incredible. They do not have the furthest distance. Like, they're not super spots. They're not spotlights. They're more of a floodlight to me. I think they're supposed to be a combo or something, but they don't just reach way, way out there. But I got one more test to do before I wrap this up. I'm gonna put on all these amber covers, because remember, these have black covers and they have amber covers. I'm gonna put on all the amber covers and just see what it looks like converting them all to amber. So the biggest downside to the covers that I see is like trying to travel, especially doing cross-country travel. To travel with 10 of these covers stuck somewhere in the vehicle, space is too valuable for that. So I can't see actually running those covers, like taking a full set with me, not having 10 lights. If I only had 2, okay. But I do have these segregated. So the way I've got them segregated is the middle 2, so the very middle 2, and then that one and the outer one on both sides. They go 1, skip 1, 1, skip 1, 2, skip 1, 1, skip 1, 1. Those 6 are on one, and then the other 4. So you kind of got them split up pretty evenly into 4 lights and 6 lights. So I could take 4 of these covers and only have to carry 4 with me, because if you are running amber, it usually means low visibility situations, and you're probably not going to want 10 lights on because they're just going to blow everything out. And since these are up high, usually you want low lights for your, if you're dealing with fog or snow or stuff, you want them down as low as possible. So really using them up here is kind of unlikely, but I can always set some of them up with it, some of them without. I got plenty of options. Then I still have the low ambers here, though we're actually about to swap these out, so come back for that. But I could always put some low amber, more of a fog light down here low in the bumper. That's a really good amber light for those dense fog snow situations. So I just want to see what this looks like with all ambers. So we're gonna do this and then we'll probably call it a video. All right, here we go. That is low beam only. That is all 10 lights on. It is much more, let's just compare. That is my true amber lights right there, which is much more of a true orange, deep amber color, versus these are really very, very yellow, which is still better than white, but that amber right there is gonna work better in fog than this yellow, but it's still better than white. One thing I will say that is nice about the amber covers, I can't see, is the glare on the hood. So that is one of the concerns about this type of light bar, is you get a ton of light right down on the hood. It can blow up your dash, your windshield wipers. It glares fairly bad. This isn't too bad, but if your windshield's dirty, it's even worse. Like, it definitely, you can definitely see the glare. I cleaned the windshield with just the windshield wipers, so it's making a big difference. But the glare from with the amber covers on is significantly better than it was without them. I don't know if I can really show you the difference, but just from a blinding you with reflection off the hood, it is better with the amber cover. So anyway, that's all for tonight. I'm gonna wrap up, but I'll be back in the morning. I want to show you kind of what I did on the wiring when I've got light and I can actually show you what we've done. So we'll be back just like this. All right, guys, it's morning. Let me show you how I ended up wiring this. So you saw I made all these harnesses, tied all this in here. So this looks really clean that it comes around. And then I ended up using 2 of these boxes right here, and all my splices go into these, which obviously there's a ton of cables here because I ran a direct harness with 4 wires into these, so it turned into a lot of wires. If I'd run splitters on these, which I probably should have gotten, I was having a hard time finding 4-pin 2-way splitters. If I'd run splitters, I could have put this in one box. It would have helped a lot to run splitters, but I wanted to make sure I was getting enough wire to everything. So it's not perfect, it's very tight, but I do still have space in those boxes. I'm gonna probably do some, I was gonna put one and mount it to the side rail. I think I'm gonna leave these right here and put some adhesive Velcro on them. So I'm just gonna stick them to the roof and call it good right there. So I'm gonna put the lids on, wrap that up, but my cable comes around, goes under, ties in under the hood to the Auxbeam 8-channel controller, and I've got them split up where I can run, this button will run 6 of them, that one will run 4 of them, so I can run part of the lights if I want to, or I can run all of the lights if I want to. So it's looking fantastic. And I haven't hooked up the white accent light, but let me show you the orange one. So I've got it hooked up on this other button, so I can just run the amber accent lights, and then I think I'm just going to hook the white ones. They look good too. I think I'm going to hook the white accent lights up to my daytime running and just let those lights kick on when the daytime running lights come on, because I think that'd be kind of cool. So I think that's what we're going to do. Thank you to Auxbeam for helping us out with these lights. It's finally on. It's all wired. It looks fantastic. It lights things up. The curve on that was 100% worth it. Even though it was some extra work, the curve on that light bar, it just fans out lights so far. So I'm sure we'll have some more lighting soon. I want to do side lighting, and I want to do some better backup lighting. And then I also want to add side and backup lighting on the camper so that I can, it's really hard at night when I'm turning this thing around, backing into a tight spot. I can't see hardly anything back up there. Even though this has backup lights on it, I need more light so I can see where the camper is going. It's so hard to see. So we'll be adding some lights on there. I've already got that all rigged up in here. I'll probably put an Auxbeam controller in there as well at some point. So more lighting stuff to come down the road, but for now, we're done with this. It's sweet. I'm excited. If you want to see it, we're going to be at Rendezvous in the Ozarks, so you can come check it out, look at how we did it and everything. If you want more detail on it, feel free to swing by and say hi. We're not going to be in any particular area. We didn't sign up for basically anything this year. Some years we've done some different things. I think we're maybe doing a class on adventuring as a family, kind of talking about some of our experience and some of the things we've learned, taking the kids with us. I think they're going to have us do that again this year. We've done it the last couple of years, but other than that, just swing by and say hi, because we're not really going to be in any particular area. But if you want to see this, swing by and check it out. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. All right, guys, another day, back work. Hey. All right, now that I've started everything with all right.
Hey, guys.
I gotta start working on it. Okay.